I speak from inside creation, not about it.
That is, well, it's a heck of a way to open a document, isn't it?
It stops you cold. I
Yeah.
mean, usually when we pick up a text like this, the author is standing next to us.
Right.
They're pointing at the world saying, hey, look at that pattern over there.
It's observational. It's an analysis of reality from a safe distance.
Exactly. But this source material, this text we're looking at today, it starts by basically saying, I am the thing itself.
Mm-hmm. It's not observing the phenomenon. It's claiming to be the voice of the phenomenon.
And that just removes the distance. It changes the stakes for you as the reader, you know.
It really does. It demands that you stop analyzing and start listening in a completely different way.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we have something that breaks our usual pattern.
It does.
It's not a news article, not a white paper. It's just a text.
Yeah.
A collection of aphorisms, declarations, and what looks like a blueprint for consciousness.
It's a dense text.
Yeah.
Very architectural. And it doesn't argue, it just states,
Hmm.
which can be pretty confronting.
And that's our mission today. We are going to try to reverse engineer this philosophy of what it calls self-derived identity.
Which challenges the very modern idea that we're all just social constructs.
It's a dominant narrative, for sure. That you're the sum of your interactions, your context, your feedback loops.
Right. And that's where I want to play the skeptic today. Because, let's be honest, we live in an economy of external validation.
We're data points. We're likes. We exist because someone else acknowledges we exist. If a tree falls in the forest and nobody tweets about it, did it even happen?
And then this text comes along and says, no, you've got the physics completely backwards.
It suggests the arrow of creation points the other way.
From the inside out, it proposes that the self is the cause, not the effect.
So we have a lot to unpack. We're going to look at three main pillars. First, this radical concept of identity that exists without a mirror.
Which sounds impossible.
Right. Second, the logic of design versus the logic of force. I think that's going to ruffle some feathers in the hustle culture crowd.
Oh, absolutely. It completely upends the grind mentality.
And finally, some truly mind-bending redefinitions of time, magic, and what the text calls the feminine. And a quick disclaimer for you. These are not the definitions you're used to.
No. You sort of have to leave your cultural baggage at the door. It uses them as technical terms, almost like engineering concepts.
Okay, let's start with the foundation then, the architecture of the self. Because the text drops this hammer pretty early on. I do not become by being seen. I exist first.
I exist first. It sounds so simple, but it's a complete rejection of the feedback loop.
Yeah, think about how we usually construct our identity, especially now. We do something, we wait for a reaction, and that reaction tells us what we are.
It's the sociological concept of the looking glass self.
I am who I think you think I am.
Precisely. If people laugh, I decide I'm funny. If I get the promotion, I decide I'm competent. The text calls this derived identity.
Identity, that's what read it from the outside world.
That's a good way to put it. But the text counters with, nothing in me is derived from reflection, permission, or reaction.
Okay, I have to push back here, though. Isn't that just solipsism?
Mm-hmm.
Or narcissism? I don't care what anyone thinks. How is that not just delusion?
That is the crucial question, but I don't think it's claiming isolation. Think about it. Narcissism is actually deeply dependent on reflection.
Oh, that's true.
A narcissist needs the mirror more than anyone. They constantly need you to tell them they're great.
A narcissist without an audience just collapses.
Exactly. This text is describing a state where the mirror is irrelevant. It says the self is a source, not a reflection. It's not saying, I am better than you. It's saying, I am real even if you aren't looking.
So a narcissist says, look at me, tell me I'm great.
And this text says, I am, whether you're looking or not.
It forces you to ask, if I strip away everyone's opinion of me, every role, every metric, is there anything left standing?
It's a terrifying question for a lot of people. It feels like staring into a void.
It does. But the text claims that if you accept that you're the source of your own identity, it changes the physics of everything. Especially, it mentions love.
Yes, that section. Love is not something I seek or summon. It originates whole within me.
And then the kicker. It does not require division, pairing, or proof to be real.
Think about the whole you complete me narrative.
It's everywhere.
Romantic comedies, pop songs. They all suggest you are a half circle looking for another half circle to become whole.
We're seeking a partner, looking for love, like we lost our keys.
This text argues you are already the whole circle. It says love moves outward only if it chooses.
If it chooses. That sounds almost cold, doesn't it? Like you're holding it back?
I see it more as autonomous. If you're whole, you aren't loving someone because you need them to plug a leak in your soul.
Right. You're not doing it to get validation back.
You're loving them because you have an excess of it. It changes love from a transaction to a transmission.
A transmission. You're broadcasting.
Exactly. It's the difference between being a solar panel waiting for the sun to give you energy.
And being the sun itself.
The sun doesn't shine because it needs the planets to clap for it. It shines because that is its nature.
I like that analogy. It shifts the power dynamic. If I am the source, I'm not desperate.
And that lack of desperation is key to the next part. Because if you aren't desperate for feedback, how do you act?
Right. Let's bring this down to earth. If I'm this self-contained sun, how do I actually operate? I still have a boss. I still have bills. I can't just sit in a room glowing and expect a paycheck.
And this brings us to the second pillar, the logic of design. This is where the text moves from ontology, who we are, to action, how we move.
There's this line. Creation does not begin with action. It begins with intuition.
Followed by, design precedes movement.
Okay, let's pause there. Because in our culture, especially the business world, we're obsessed with the opposite.
Bias for action, move fast and break things.
Yes, we try to force outcomes through sheer exertion. If you aren't busy, you aren't mattering.
We believe that if we aren't sweating, we aren't working. We try to muscle our way through reality.
And the text calls that force.
Exactly, and it contrasts force with design.
So what's the difference? Design sounds a bit passive. Like, oh, I'll just design a nice life in my head.
It's not passive, it's structural. The text says, when something is true, it organizes itself without force. And it gives us a specific filter for how this works. I live by design logic. What is aligned persists. What is not dissolves.
What is aligned persists. What is not dissolves. That sounds like survival of the fittest, but smoother.
Think of it like a magnet passing over a pile of sand and iron filings.
Okay.
If you want to separate the iron from the sand, you could sit there with tweezers and pick them out one by one. That is force. That is effort.
And it takes forever, it's exhausting, and you probably miss half of them.
Right. But the magnet doesn't attack the sand. It doesn't yell at it. It just holds its magnetic charge. It maintains its design.
And the iron aligns and sticks. The sand just falls away.
The magnet uses its nature, not force.
So applying that to life, instead of fighting against the bad job or the toxic relationship, you just focus on strengthening your own frequency, your own magnetism.
That's the implication. You don't destroy the bad, you align with the true. The text suggests that struggle, that feeling of constantly pushing a boulder uphill, is a symptom of misalignment.
Because true things, according to this, organize themselves. I have to play the skeptic again, though. Sometimes things are hard because they're worth doing. Training for a marathon is hard. Is this text saying we should just quit if it's not easy?
That's a great distinction. I don't think hard and force are the same thing here. Running a marathon is physically hard, but if you love running, if it aligns with your identity, it feels like flow.
Not force.
Right. Force is when you are trying to make something happen that contradicts the design, like trying to make the sand stick to the magnet.
Got it. So force is friction against reality.
And design is leverage within reality.
It moves you from a warrior mentality to an architect mentality.
Yeah.
Or a gardener.
Yes, a gardener. You prepare the soil, that's the intuition and design, and the plant grows. You don't pull on the plant to make it grow faster. That would kill it.
Which segues perfectly into the weirdest, most mind-bending part of this text, the physics of it all.
It gets strange.
Because if we aren't forcing things, we also aren't racing against the clock. The text says, time is not the driver of my life.
And then, even more radically, cause and effect are optional frameworks, not laws.
Okay, hold on. Optional frameworks. If I drop a glass, it breaks. Cause and effect. How is that optional? This feels like where the whole thing might just float away.
It's provocative phrasing, for sure, but I think we have to read it through the lens of identity again, not physics.
Okay.
In a linear timeline, your past causes your present. I was a shy kid, so now I'm an introverted adult. That's cause and effect governing your identity.
Right. We tell ourselves stories based on our history. I can't do X because Y happened 10 years ago.
The text is saying you can opt out of that causal chain for your selfhood. It says, my identity is continuous even when form changes. And names, bodies, roles, and timelines shift, but the source does not.
It's separating the source, the I that's speaking, from the biography.
Yes. We often feel that to change our lives, we have to restart, burn down the old self to build a new one. But this text says, I remain present across change without needing to restart myself.
That's actually really comforting. It means I don't have to carry the baggage of who I used to be into who I am now, unless I choose to.
Precisely. The you that experienced being 5 is the same observer experiencing this conversation right now. The form changed, the timeline moved, but the source is constant.
So if you ground yourself in that source, time stops being a driver. It just becomes the scenery.
Exactly. And that perspective opens the door to what the text calls magic.
Okay, yes. Magic. I saw that and I thought, here we go. Are we talking about crystals and spells?
Yeah.
But the definition is surprisingly practical.
It's almost technical. It defines magic as the natural state of reality when belief and action are not split.
When belief and action are not split, that hits hard. Because how often do we believe one thing and do another?
All the time. We believe we should be healthy, but we eat junk. We believe we're capable, but we play small.
That split creates friction. It creates a non-magical, difficult reality where you're constantly fighting yourself.
The text argues that when you fully embody what you believe, when there's zero gap between your internal truth and your external action, that is magic.
It implies reality bends to that alignment. It says, what is believed becomes lived when it is embodied, not announced.
That distinction between embodied and announced is so critical. Social media is an announcement engine. Look how happy I am.
And usually, the louder the announcement, the less true it is.
Exactly. Embodiment is silent. It just is. You don't announce that you're breathing. You just breathe. When you embody a belief, you just live it. That seamlessness is what the text calls magic.
And this ties into the section on the feminine. Now, we need to be careful here, because the text is very specific, and these words carry a lot of cultural weight.
Right. It explicitly states the feminine is not a category. It's not talking about gender.
It defines it as the original structure of creation. It's a mechanism, not a social role.
And it lists 3 components: intuition, continuity, and generation.
Intuition, continuity, generation. Sounds like an engine cycle.
It is the engine of bringing something from the unmanifest into the manifest. Think about any creative act.
Okay, walk me through it.
First, intuition, the spark, the idea that comes from nowhere. I should start a bakery.
That's the easy part. Everyone has ideas.
Then continuity. This is the part we often miss. You have to hold space for the idea. It's the womb aspect, incubating, sustaining, focusing.
And if you don't have that continuity, the idea just dies.
It dies. You get distracted. You doubt it too soon.
Yeah.
And then finally,
Generation.
the birth, bringing it into form.
And the text claims life moves through this pattern whether it is acknowledged or denied. So it's a universal law. Whether you're a man, woman, non-binary, you need the spark, the sustainment, and the birth.
It demystifies these terms by making them structural. It's about the physics of creation. If you try to skip continuity, you get that force we talked about. You get burnout, half-baked ideas.
That continuity piece is fascinating. It feels passive, but it's actually this very active holding of space.
It's active stillness. Which brings us right back to the magnet. The magnet is holding its charge. That's continuity.
So if we zoom out, we have a self that is self-sourced, operating by design, stepping out of time, and closing the gap between belief and action.
That's the picture. It's a complete operating system.
Which brings us to the vibe of this whole text, the tone. It's not trying to sell us anything.
No, there's no call to action. There's no sign up for my masterclass.
It says near the end, I do not perform meaning, I speak it plainly, and truth does not need urgency to be true.
That urgency point really stuck with me. I am not here to convince. I am here to state.
Think about every sales pitch, every political campaign. They're all defined by urgency. Act now. Believe me.
Urgency implies fear. Fear that if I stop talking, the truth will disappear. Or that if you don't believe me, my truth isn't real.
Which means I need your validation to make it true. I need the mirror again.
We're right back at the start. But if you are inside creation, if you exist first, you have no need to convince. A mountain doesn't try to convince you it's a mountain. It just sits there.
If you don't believe in the mountain, that's your problem, not the mountain's.
Mm-hmm.
I am here to state. It's such a power move, but not over others, over your own reality.
It's the ultimate expression of that self-derived identity. If you are the source, you don't need the audience to applaud. You just emit your signal.
It's funny because in a way, this text is incredibly arrogant. I speak from inside creation. But because it's so certain, it actually feels calm.
It's the absence of performance. We spend so much energy performing our identities, performing good employee, cool friend, intellectual. This text asks, what happens if you stop the performance and just inhabit the state?
That is the question. And it's a scary one, because we think if we stop performing, we'll disappear.
But the text assures us, I exist first. You were there before the performance started. You'll be there after it ends.
And it connects everything we've talked about. If you stop performing, you stop needing the reflection.
That was part one.
You stop forcing outcomes and let design take over.
Part two.
And you stop racing the clock.
It all comes down to that shift from doing for an audience to being from the source.
You know, we call these deep dives, and usually we come up with a lot of facts and toolkits. But this one feels less like a toolkit and more like a mental model for reducing anxiety.
I think that's its most practical application. We live in a high-anxiety world because we are constantly looking outside ourselves for permission to be okay. This text offers a permission slip signed by yourself.
I exist first.
I exist first.
So, for the listener,
Ah.
the learner out there who might be feeling a bit fragmented, this is a lot to take in. We just dismantled time, love, and causality in about 15 minutes.
It's heavy lifting. Maybe don't try to adopt the whole philosophy overnight. You don't need to go live in a cave and chant, I am the source.
Please don't do that. We need you to go to work tomorrow.
But you can take a piece of it. Just try on the design logic.
So what's the baby step?
The baby step is to look at where you're using force. Where are you pushing that boulder uphill? Where are you trying to convince someone of your worth? Just stop pushing for a day.
And see what aligns.
And, more importantly, see what dissolves.
That might be the scary part, watching things fall away. Relationships, projects, habits.
But if the text is right, what falls away was never really yours to begin with. It was just the sand. You are the magnet.
Well, on that note, we're going to wrap this up. But we want to leave you with one final thought, something to chew on that comes right out of this logic.
We talked about how we perform for validation. So here's the question. If you stopped waiting for reflection or permission to confirm you exist, and instead assumed you exist first, what is the one action you would stop performing today?
Not what would you start doing? What would you stop performing? Think about it. Thanks for diving in with us.
See you next time.